This is the Milo Sweet Podcast, where you learn to be resourceful, find quick and clever ways to overcome life's challenges. And guess what? Achieve more with less. Use what you have to get where you're trying to go. Learn to do difficult. And for excuses, get rid of them. I mean, all of them. They're dead to me. Let's go. Hey, before we get started, I need your help. If you like the show, please like, subscribe, review, and share. You really like the show? Want to put your money where your mouth is? Click donate. I would love your support. I thought this was an interesting podcast because, well, I was interested in it. I sometimes fall down rabbit holes, and that's just one of them, is as I became an entrepreneur and I had a lot of highs and lows initially, it was mostly because the way I wanted to be an entrepreneur, I didn't see a roadmap for it. I saw the touting or tooting. Is it touting? Tooting. No, tooting is like, okay. I saw a lot of people bragging. It is 3:42 a.m. That should not diminish the quality of my work. But look, everyone is sleeping and I just couldn't sleep for some reason. I normally wake up at 4 something anyway, but it's like this weird vibe. I'm going to get back on subject, but it is a weird vibe of just like not being able to do my normal activities. I think my brain is trying to search for like things that I would normally be doing this year, and I'm just not doing. The other parts of this is I can't exert enough energy in some of these like little makeups. Like I just realized I used to spend hours a day outside, like 2 to 3 hours out, physically outside, rain or shine, and I don't quite have that anymore. So I'm working on getting that back. I'm probably at like an hour and a half, which I think it's great, but it's not ideal, and it's not in the way we used to. It's just really hard to find places where you can stay that are not highly populated, as well as, where they're not like super weird about a kid randomly, not trying to randomly, people are weird about kids right now. So it's just, sometimes I don't feel like dealing with it. In addition to me being a Black woman in a predominantly white area during this social unrest, there's things here. Look, if I videotaped every occurrence, I think I would probably be trending. I'll just say that. There's a lot of stuff that I'm like, I don't even have time for it today. Like, not at all. You could have called me on a different day. You know how some days you're bored and you're like, I do have time for that mess. I have time for it because honestly, you have nothing else to do. It's not one of those days. Most of 2020, I haven't felt like that. So anyway, I was like looking and researching about being an entrepreneur, and a lot of the gurus or webinars or free whatever that you find, it makes it super exciting and super fun. And that is one aspect. And those are some days. And there are also some days that I would like to call your low days. And there's a couple things that happen. You can get used to them so that they become normal in some way, but also you can reduce, change the spectrum of the swing. So it's not going from extreme high to extreme low. It's maybe just, hey, this is a 90, now I'm on a 70 day. I'm going from an A to a C, not an A to an F or a negative. What are the negative letters? There's none? Okay, great. So it's more like that. But one thing I did want to mention, because I know that a lot of people are thinking, well, I want to work for myself. And I don't think that that's a bad idea. I think whether you work for someone or not, you should have a way to make income yourself. Because at the end of the day, I think this was Grant Cardone. I don't usually quote him, but I really like what he said about this, was that you're either a resource or for someone else, or you provide resources. So I think why not both? Because there's 2 hats that you have to wear. And I think first, yes, your skill level should be there. But when you provide resources, you start to understand that first off, your skill becomes different. Not that working for someone doesn't develop skills, but it's different because you have to simultaneously be super good at the most important things on that day or at that season, and you have to get really sharp at them. You also have to be able to be super agile. So just adjust really quickly. So you really can't have a whole bunch of feelings. Some of y'all feel so much. It's just, it's not gonna, you gotta work on that. Doesn't mean you can't feel so much, but in spite of your feelings, you have to do things. Like what I felt was going back to sleep. It's 3:46 now, and I didn't, because I was like, this is the best time. The house is quiet. I love a quiet house. So I wanted to talk about some of the lows about entrepreneurship, and so that it's not a shock, because it was a complete shock for me. I think because, first off, okay, I have a lot of shocks about entrepreneurship, so I'm going to break these up, because I'm like, this will be a super, super long episode. Although I've gotten requests for longer episodes, I think I would be interested in doing that if it's necessary. I think a lot of times, it's nice to have a long episode. It's nice to, have more content or dive deep on an issue. But I also find that a lot of my information is concentrated, so it's to the point. I don't like wasting time. Mine's or yours. So I would consider it. I think there would have to be some things that I really felt like, man, an hour or 2 hours. Or there are some recordings I've done with people that are an hour, and if you prefer to hear them as all one episode instead of broken up, I could do that. I'm going to tell you, though, why I don't do that is because sometimes I get super annoyed when I did listen to podcasts where I had to listen to this whole long episode just to find the nugget that I wanted. And so that was like frustrating to me, as well as listening to all these ads that were super annoying. I'm not saying I won't have ads. I'm just saying I really don't plan to inundate my show with ads, because after a while, it's annoying. I'm going to inundate it with ways to make money, but I'm not going to overwhelm the listener with a whole bunch of ads all the time. So that's something to consider. Okay, so back to the lows. I would say one of the lows is learning how to get your income together, like learning what that is, because you can have a really, really good month and then you can have just nothing and you don't know. So one way to solve that is really keeping your funnel. Like, you got to learn sales and marketing. Most people, you can figure out a sales and marketing method that works for you, your business model, and your personality and your style of work, but you do have to figure that out. The second thing is that you're isolated. But if we learned anything in 2020, right now, most people have a level of isolation. You're isolated. I actually like that. I like not having to work with a lot of people all the time. I think probably 70 to 80% of my job, I like working solo. I like an environment of like having access to people and being able to, help people or provide services for them. But in the large scheme of things, I don't necessarily need like a team. Even if you grow into a team, I don't actually need time working side by side someone all day long, unless that's what it calls for. But most jobs, it's not like that. You really are okay. It's just that sometimes we don't want to be by ourselves. So I think figuring out that, and you can work any schedule. The hard part is you can work any schedule. So you got to still figure out how to get the work done. You can work from anywhere. The hard part is you can work from anywhere. So you're like, yeah, I could be at Starbucks all day. But I went to Starbucks one day, all day. I didn't get anything done. All I did was watch people and listen to people. So that wasn't really the best environment. It's great for meeting people. It's great to go get a brainstorm session in. But I didn't really find, I don't usually go to Starbucks. I go to Starbucks if people want to meet there. But that's not my ideal coffee shop or place of meeting in general. I just like the flexibility. But I just like Starbucks when I was like 12. It was like amazing. It just felt like this is like the best experience ever. And now, besides the people are super nice. I don't know. Because I enjoy a black coffee now. And so it's like Starbucks coffee isn't that great black. Okay. It only tastes really that good with lots of cream and lots of sugar. And if that's not your daily way of drinking coffee, it can be, like just too much. It's not really that enjoyable. And if you like different, it's not about coffee, guys. Sorry. That was going to be a long show. I'm like, and you're like, dude, see, get to the episode. That's why I try to stay on track. Okay. So we went over, some other highs and lows are just learning your business model, not realizing that you still have to do work. You still have to do the work. I thought working from home meant it was like more chill than work. And it's only because my personality I feel like naturally my personality is going to do the least amount for the highest reward. That sounds lazy. It's not. It's doing the things that move the needle. That is what you can get really caught up in working from home. You can do a whole bunch of work, busy work. I've seen it. And 6 months later, you have nothing to show for it. You don't have another client. You have nothing. So you have to also know that there's going to take a little bit of time to build your business. You can still get your client. I've gotten a sale within 24 hours from starting a new venture. But you want to keep getting sales. And so you start to think about that. How do you build trust with people? How do you talk to them about it? So the other part is everything is on you. Like everything. Like 100% everything. So you win, great. You lose, great. You lose again, great. I mean, it's all in you. And I think that sometimes you can have like a little bit of depression or anxiety from that. You can also get in the cycle of overworking. I don't think overworking is the benefit of being self-employed. I think there are seasons where you might have a sprint. There's times where I have to, like right now, I'm like, I'm going to take advantage of these slower periods, these quiet mornings, and get things done. So I do use them for that. But I also think that it's important for you to realize that you are going to have like moments where you might have to overwork. But I really think it's important that you realize you're your biggest asset for your business. So if you're overworked and run down, or you run yourself ragged or sick, you can't fulfill other duties or other roles that you have that are important, I don't really think that's the benefit of the business. I think the benefit of the business is to provide a better life for you. And I think taking care of yourself and having the right amount of time off, rest is crucial for entrepreneurship. And I know there's people who say, no, I only sleep 4 hours and stuff, but we haven't seen the full picture for their life. We haven't. It's okay. You might deny or defy certain rules for how humans are made, but at the end of the day, you're still a human, and there's a manual to how we run. And if you ignore that manual, some things will happen. Some people won't reap all the things that they should, in the sense of like for what they input or how they treated their body. Like, there's some person that could smoke all their life and live to 100 and never get cancer. And then there's some people who quit smoking, and then 20 years later, that cancer, for all those 20 years, that cancer was laying dormant, and all of a sudden it's starting to grow. So I don't understand those circumstances, but I am saying is there is still a cost, and you should figure out the cost that you want. And the last thing is there's risk. And so if you're risk averse, business can be super scary for you. If you're not risk averse and you like taking lots of risks, you can also find that, sometimes just the adrenaline is not enough. You have to have a process and a strategy. I'm more like take a lot of risk. And you still need a process. You need a strategy. You still have to do the mundane, the boring things, because that's actually what makes the business work. So there's times that, I don't want to do the boring things. I'm like, more paperwork. But at the end of the day, it's what's necessary. And eventually you can hire someone or outsource that, and that's fine. But the other part is you still have to make sure you understand what it entails, because you can hire someone and not even know if they're doing a good job or not. But they got your money, and that's what's tricky too. Also, just giving yourself patience to grow. You're growing into a new person, a new role. I'm not a fan of going all in business, especially if you have a family and you have other responsibilities or you have high debt. I like the approach of baby stepping it, but I've seen people go all in and it work out really well. I think part of it is really knowing yourself, your strategy, and how you're going to do it, but also being okay if huge failure comes, because on the other side of that coin is huge success. That is all. If you have tips that you want to share, or you have an experience you want to share about being an entrepreneurship, let's start over. If you have tips you want to share about being an entrepreneur, send them to me, anchor.fm/the-My-List-Week-Podcast, in a voice message. I would love to hear from you. All right, that's another episode in the books. Hello? I said it's over. Why are you still listening? Like, seriously, the episode is over. If you're still listening right now, you know what? You're probably a chronic procrastinator. Guess what? I'm still listening too. Come on, for real, seriously. We gotta go do something productive. No, like for real. No, for real. Okay, you can keep listening.